You know, we all tend to think of death as, well, the end, the final stop for connection. But what if it's not? What if there's a story out there that completely challenges that idea? A story suggesting our consciousness and our bonds with each other might actually reach far beyond that boundary we've always accepted as final.
So that's really the big question we're diving into, isn't it? Can human connection actually transcend death? I mean, think about it. Can a bond, a simple thought, a message, can it really cross that ultimate divide? Because if the answer is yes, well, that changes everything. Not just what we believe, but what we think we know about reality itself.
Now, where do you even begin to look for an answer to a question that big? Well, it might come from a group of people you may have never even heard of, non-speakers. These are individuals, many with autism, who communicate by spelling out every single thought. And their experiences, they point to a kind of shared reality that's just mind-blowing, one where being physically present or even being alive isn't a barrier to communication. Okay, to really get what we're talking about, we need to go beyond the theory. We need a human story. And that's where we meet John Paul. He was a 17-year-old non-speaker known for being this incredibly gentle soul. And his life, and tragically his passing, kicked off this chain of events that, well, it just completely turns our understanding of connection on its head. All right, so let's set the scene. It's September 24th, 2023, and something really weird starts to happen. Two mothers, Libby and Katie, they live miles apart, but their sons are friends. And out of nowhere, both of them get this overwhelming urge to take a nap, which is super unusual for both of them. And while they were sleeping, one of their sons, John Paul, he tragically passed away. But here is where the story goes from heartbreaking to just impossible. Before anyone was told what happened, John Paul's friends, they already knew. So Houston, John Paul's close friend, wakes up. His mom, Katie, she's in the room, still processing the news herself. She's in shock, hasn't said a single word, and she just watches as Houston starts to spell this out. John Paul is finally free. John Paul said, "I, Son of God, am home. Make your whole life about love." I mean, just let that sink in. He's not guessing. He's relaying a direct message from his friend, a message of peace. And you might think, okay, maybe that's a one-off, a crazy coincidence. But it wasn't. At the same time, another friend, a non-speaker named Zahari, had been kind of out of it all day. He suddenly wakes up and starts spelling this message out before his family had even seen the news online. "Glad God is faithful to give JP a home. Don't worry, JP is God's beloved voice now." So you have two different boys in two different houses receiving the same impossible information at the exact same time. How do you explain that? Okay, so this story is already pushing the limits of what seems possible, right? Well, buckle up because it's about to get even crazier. An independent witness, someone with zero connection to this family, comes forward. And what she has to say backs up everything these boys are claiming in a way that is just unbelievable. So, who is this witness? Her name is Becky. She's an Air Force veteran, and her story is incredible in its own right. After a traumatic brain injury, she actually died on the operating table for 3 minutes. When she came back, she said the door to heaven kind of stayed ajar for her. And to be clear, she was a total stranger. She had no idea who John Paul or his family were. So let's put this side by side. On one hand, you have what John Paul's friends were reporting. On the other, what Becky, this totally separate medium, was seeing. Both of them described him in an afterlife realm. Both said he seemed incredibly large. In fact, Becky specified he was 10 feet tall. Both of them saw him happy, whole, and giving out his signature high fives to other kids. And they both saw him starting a new purpose, building his own house, a cabin by the sea, a detail his mom immediately recognized. I mean, the parallels aren't just similar, they are shockingly specific and undeniable. Okay, so when you have corroboration like that, it forces you to think bigger. This isn't just one freak incident anymore. It starts to look like evidence of a broader, shared reality that these non-speakers have been talking about all along. A place where this kind of communication isn't the exception, it's the rule. And at the heart of this shared reality is a place they call the Hill. So what is it? They describe it as a kind of spiritual dimension, a meeting place that exists outside of our physical world. It's where they say they can meet up, communicate directly, mind to mind, not just with each other, but with people who have passed on, people like John Paul. It gets even more interesting. They also talk about something they call school in heaven.
Houston, John Paul's friend, described this incredible process. He said angels would take him there and he'd get to put on the hats of amazing authors. Think Mark Twain, Steinbeck, Fitzgerald. And the moment he put on the hat, he said he would instantly absorb their entire life's work, all their knowledge, their stories, their wisdom. It's like a direct download from the masters. Just wow.
So, what do we do with all this? I mean, we're talking about an afterlife, a spiritual meeting spot, instant downloads of knowledge from the greats. When you put it all together, it really starts to feel like our standard textbook understanding of the universe isn't just missing a few pieces. It might be fundamentally flawed. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds like science fiction, but there's actually a concept from science and philosophy that could offer a way to think about it: simulation theory. You've probably heard of it. The basic idea is that this physical reality we experience isn't the real reality. It's more like a super advanced simulation. And if that's true, maybe non-speakers are just less immersed in the simulation. Maybe because their consciousness isn't so tied to their physical body, they can perceive the framework, the underlying reality, that the rest of us are too immersed to see.
Look, at the end of the day, we don't have all the answers. And maybe that's the whole point. Maybe we're not supposed to have a tidy little explanation for everything. There's this incredible quote from Asher, a non-speaker from England, that I think just nails it. He says, "The solution is for those so-called experts to accept that there's far more going on than their instruments can measure, and to adopt a humble and wondering attitude." And I think that's the perfect takeaway. Maybe the most profound truths aren't found in the answers we have, but in the questions we're brave enough to ask.